Let's take a look at a stakes race on Sunday at Monmouth Park. This one is race number 10. It's the Get Serious. It's a turf sprint, 5 furlongs in a field of 11 horses lining up, including last year's winner of this race, where we saw Grooms All Business defeat Our Shot. Both those top two finishers, they come back. They're in here, but including those horses, we have a ton of others that are in good form right now, and that would not be a surprise to see them get the job done in here. Horses like Super Quest and Smithwick Spice, they come out of the same race at Gulfstream Park last time out. That should set them up pretty well for this one. Witty and Eamon, their horses, same thing with Our Shot. If they get the type of trip, they're absolutely capable of winning a race like this, but with their running style, sometimes it's a little bit difficult for them. Speaking of running style, let's take a look at that Timeform US pace projector and see what the Timeform US folks think will happen in race number 10 early on in this one. I mean, they could be flying in here early with a couple of horses like the 9 and the 8. Super Quest, who could go really quick. Smithwick Spice can go very fast. Look at the race on February the 24th at Tampa when this horse was flying early on, basically going 21-1 that day. So we'll be curious to see how fast they go early as we move through this field, and it's a big field. Let's take a look at the number 1, Charging, to start things out. This horse was third in a $100,000 stakes race last time out, was behind Witty. That was on April the 20th. I did think he ended up getting a pretty good trip that day, and he felt like that was a race that he was supposed to win. Now, drawing the inside in a field like this could be really tough because with 10 rivals to the outside, a good amount of speed, I just feel like he really could be in it with a tough trip and have to really show that he's capable of beating a field like this. So if he wins, he's going to have earned it from down there on the inside. Right next door is the number 2, Grooms All Business. And I think Bobby, shout out to Bobby, who I'm doing a lot of work with now. He's doing a great job here helping us produce these videos and doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. We have a look at the 2 Grooms All Business who defeated Witty and Smooth B on May the 18th at Pimlico. And they tried to come back and run in the grade 1 Jaipur, but Grooms All Business was not able to get into that race. So in this spot, he just looks like he's going to be really, really tough. He is second off a 9-month layoff, coming off a really impressive win where you actually can see the race late in stretch. He kind of moves into a spot. Witty comes into that spot. He has to take up, go all the way around, and still gets the job done. I was so impressed visually with that victory. And just look at all of the recent form. You cannot knock any of the recent races. He's tactical. He can sit a little closer than he was last time out. I think the plan was just to drop a little farther back out of it. And he loves Monmouth Park. He's won 4 of his 8 starts at Monmouth Park. So I think he's the horse they're all going to have to hold off. And to me, he's the horse to beat, the number 2, Grooms All Business. Right next door, it's the number 3, Smooth B. While he's been stakes placed before, and, he just finished 3rd on the grass last time out behind Grooms All Business and Witty, he's 0 for 15 on the turf. And at some point, you have to start wondering if he just doesn't really have that same killer instinct. I call it a winstinct on the grass as he has on the dirt, where he's won 8 of 35 lifetime. So for me, until we see Smooth B get into the winner's circle, I could only treat him like a horse to use in the bottom of your multiple, or in the bottom of your exotics, exacta tries, supers, just bottom legs. Moving next, it's Phaethon. I couldn't really get a good read for this one. Second start off the 10-month break, 0 for his last 7. So he's looking for his first win since coming over to the U.S. from France. And I just think they're trying to see what they can get out of him again at some of these shorter distances, because it worked really well, flashing big speed, seeing if he could hold on. Now, that was one of our better performances we've had since we've come over to the U.S. Let's probably do that again. So I would expect to see a little bit of speed from Phaethon. I don't know if it's enough to keep up with some of the really fast horses in here. Right next door, it's Witty. Witty will go 3rd start off the bench. This is a half-brother to Caravel, the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint winner. With the blinkers coming off, he's going to come closing. You know what you're going to get from Witty. The problem is, with that running style, he's at the mercy of every race he's in. Many of his other rivals will have more tactical speed. They'll be able to get a jump on him, and they'll be able to work out their own trips a little bit more than he will. So for Witty, 3rd off the bench, I'm expecting him to run better and take a little step forward, but is that enough to get the better of a group like this? I'll be, again, using Witty And Iman, who we move to next, kind of the same way because Iman has the similar running style as Whitty. We see Iman, who lost to Cogburn last time out, and Cogburn is 5 for his last 6, 5 for 6 on the turf overall. But Iman is just 2 for his last 14. He's capable of winning this type of race, but the horses who have this deeper running style at 5 furlongs, I have such a tough time putting them on the win end unless I'm sure it's going to be a race where they're flying early and it's a very contested early pace. And I don't know if that's going to be the case in here. So Whitty and Iman, horses like that, to me, they're a little bit more of under types in here. Yes and Yes is the next one. This is an 8-year-old, but he's just 0 for his last 14. His last win was June of 2022. He's going to go second start off the 7-month break, so I could see some improvement there, but I need to see that improvement before including him back in some of my exotics right now. I feel like he might be tailing off a little bit because Father Time is undefeated as he's getting into the 8-year-old season now. Smithwick Spice, the number 8, is very interesting. And I think we have a backtrack that we can take a look at, a replay of both Smithwick Spice and Super Quest. They come out of the same race last time out on April the 27th. Super Quest was sitting just off the lead that day. The horse who I'm a little bit more interested in actually is Smithwick Spice, who was kind of close up, and then he had to take back. He was in some traffic. He was 7th. He was about 5 lengths off, and he's in between horses closing in the stretch. He gets pushed out of a spot that day by the winner, XY Speed. XY Speed has 13 wins. He's won 3 in a row with 102, 99, and 99 buyer speed figures. And I'm looking at XY Speed as a real measuring stick for this race. And I think Smithwick Spice, who is versatile, can show speed, can come from off the pace, can win in different ways. I think this is a horse who's a little bit sneaky. You start looking at his last few races at 5 furlongs on the turf. You have that 3rd place finish at Gulfstream Park. Prior to that, you have a victory. Prior to that, you have another victory. He hasn't been these shorter trips all that much recently, but when he goes short on the turf, he's really good. He can sit and pass, or he can be a lot closer than he was in that most recent start. So I think Smithwick Spike is in really nice form right now heading into this race. To the outside, it's the number 9, Super Quest. This could be the fastest horse in here. If anyone takes this field gate to wire, it might be him. He showed that he can sit off a pace last time out because that was a very fast pace that he needed to sit off. He, to me, making his second start at 4, second start off the 6.5-month layoff. He's another horse who's going to be really, really tough to beat. He's going to run well, kind of on the opposite side of Grooms All Business. He'll be more forwardly placed as the horse of the speed horses to beat. I think Grooms All Business is probably of the horses that come closing, the one you have to hold off. I'm hoping that Smithwick Spikes can kind of be right in the middle of them from a tactical standpoint, maybe sit just behind Super Quest and get the jump on some of the deeper runners. Let's round things out with the last 2 horses in this field. First up, it's Our Shot, who's last year's runner-up. He was actually favored in this race last year, but since then, the form has tailed off a little bit. He chased a lone speed winner last time out, Dancing Buck. He had a little bit of trouble early on in that race. I need to see more because he's just not in the same form as he was last year, kind of heading into this race. So I got to see a race or 2 to wake him back up before I can include him back in some of the exotics. The 2-back race in the Shakertown, it wasn't terrible. I think it might look a little bit better on paper, though, than the actual race itself was. Let's finish things up here with Axel Thumb. I think if you excuse that last race, it was on a good turf course at Churchill. He was 58-1. He was facing the good Cogburn that day, who's super sharp. You can eliminate that. This is a horse with a high ceiling, but with a tough draw and a late running style going 5 furlongs, he's more of an under type for me. But what is a big positive, you do see that he has a win over XY Speed a few starts back. That's the very same XY Speed who got the better of a couple of his rivals in this race. So I will use Axel Thumb in some under spots, hoping from the outside they just drop back a little bit and try to push the button, make one late run that final quarter mile of the race. Okay. As we went through the field, let's take a look at the selections now. As I put the number 8, Smithwick Spice on top. So looking at the versatility here, I thought that was a very good effort last time out when he was not far behind Super Quest. I think Smithwick Spice has the ability to get more forwardly placed in this race and can improve and possibly turn the tables on Super Quest. The horse they'll all have to hold off is Grooms All Business, who is in such good form right now. I have no knocks on this one at all. And we just mentioned Super Quest, who's the one they'll have to catch. To the outside, Axelthem will round it out for me as a horse that you can use underneath. That 96 buyer speed figure when winning a couple starts back and beating XY speed. If he were to show up with a race like that, that could win this thing and be very, very competitive with the Get Serious field. If you want a little more analysis of the Get Serious, Marcus Hirsch has an article previewing this race at DRF.com. Make sure to head to DRF Bets to make all your wagers. We'll be back here each and every week on the DRF YouTube. Make sure to subscribe so you will get previews of all of the big races, Clocker reports heading into big racing weekends. All of the tools and products that we have at DRF will remind you about them because we want to make you succeed as a horse player. Good luck on Sunday.